You just bombed another interview. Your mind went blank when they asked about your weaknesses, you stumbled through the "tell me about yourself" question, and you could barely explain why you wanted the job. Sound familiar? What if I told you there's a way to transform from interview disaster to confident candidate in just one practice session? I'm about to show you the exact AI tools that help thousands of job seekers go from sweating bullets to landing their dream jobs. These aren't just practice apps, they're game-changing technologies that can literally coach you through every question in real time. Meet Sarah, a marketing professional who thought she was ready for her dream job interview at a tech startup. She had 5 years of experience at traditional companies and wanted to break into the fast-paced world of technology. The position was perfect. Senior marketing manager at a growing fintech company with a reputation for innovation and employee growth. Sarah spent 3 weeks preparing, studying the company website, memorizing answers to common interview questions, and practicing her elevator pitch in the mirror. She practiced standard questions for weeks, felt confident walking in, but everything fell apart within minutes. Sarah had prepared responses for the typical questions she found online. She knew exactly what to say about her strengths, her career goals, and why she wanted to work in marketing. The night before the interview, she felt completely ready. Her resume was polished, her outfit was professional, and she had even practiced her handshake. Walking into the sleek office building, Sarah felt the familiar pre-interview butterflies, but she was certain her preparation would carry her through. The interviewer asked, "What's your biggest weakness?" And Sarah's rehearsed answer about perfectionism sounded fake even to her. She had practiced this exact response dozens of times, but when the words came out of her mouth, they felt hollow and scripted. The interviewer's expression shifted slightly, and Sarah could tell her answer landed poorly. She tried to recover by adding more details about how she was working to improve her perfectionism, but each additional word made the response sound more rehearsed and less authentic. The damage was already done, and she could feel the interview slipping away from her control. What followed was a cascade of failures that revealed just how unprepared she actually was. When the interviewer asked her to describe a time she had to persuade a reluctant team member, Sarah fumbled through a vague example from 2 years ago. She couldn't remember the specific details, so her story lacked the concrete elements that make behavioral responses compelling. Her answers became increasingly generic as she struggled to provide specific examples. When asked about a marketing campaign she was proud of, she gave a high-level overview that could have applied to any company in any industry. The company research portion exposed another critical gap in her preparation. Sarah had memorized the company's mission statement and knew their recent funding round amount, but when the interviewer asked what she thought about their competitor strategy, she drew a blank. Her research had focused on surface-level facts rather than deep industry understanding. She mentioned reading their blog posts but couldn't discuss specific insights or how their approach differed from industry standards. The interviewer's follow-up questions revealed that Sarah's knowledge was a mile wide and an inch deep. Traditional interview prep doesn't simulate real conversation pressure, and Sarah's experience proved this painful truth. Reading questions online and practicing answers in front of a mirror creates a false sense of preparedness. Real interviews involve unexpected follow-up questions, interruptions, and the pressure of reading body language while formulating responses. Sarah discovered that memorizing scripts doesn't prepare you for the dynamic, unpredictable nature of human conversation. The interviewer's tone, timing, and specific word choices all affect how you should respond, but static preparation methods can't account for these variables. Her preparation method focused on memorizing scripts instead of building genuine responses that reflected her actual experience and personality. Sarah had treated interview prep like studying for a test, where the goal was to deliver predetermined answers correctly. This approach created responses that sounded artificial because they weren't connected to her authentic thoughts and experiences. Instead of learning to think on her feet and adapt her real stories to different question formats, she had essentially created a performance that crumbled under the pressure of genuine conversation. The missed opportunity hit Sarah harder than she expected. This wasn't just any job, it was the exact role she wanted at a company she genuinely admired. She had researched their culture, their products, and their growth trajectory because she was excited about the possibility of contributing to their success. Walking out of that conference room, she realized her approach was fundamentally flawed. She had prepared for an exam instead of a conversation, and the difference cost her a significant career opportunity. 3 days later, Sarah received the rejection email she was expecting. The HR representative was polite, but clear. They would be moving forward with other candidates. That evening, feeling frustrated and defeated, Sarah started researching interview coaching options. Traditional coaching services were expensive and required scheduling multiple sessions weeks in advance. She needed something more immediate and accessible. During her online research, Sarah discovered AI-powered practice tools that promised to simulate real interview dynamics. Initially skeptical, she read testimonials from other professionals who claimed these tools had transformed their interview performance. The concept seemed almost too good to be true. Artificial intelligence that could conduct practice interviews, provide instant feedback, and adapt questions based on her specific background and target roles. Sarah realized that AI practice tools offered something traditional preparation methods couldn't: the ability to simulate real conversation dynamics while providing personalized coaching. Unlike static question lists or even human mock interviews with friends, AI could generate unlimited practice scenarios, adapt questions based on her responses, and provide immediate feedback on everything from content quality to delivery style. The breakthrough came when she understood that AI interview practice wasn't about memorizing new scripts. It was about developing the skills to think clearly under pressure and communicate her authentic experiences effectively. This realization marked the beginning of her transformation from someone who relied on memorized answers to a candidate who could engage confidently in genuine interview conversations. The question wasn't whether AI tools could help her prepare better, but whether she was ready to fundamentally change her approach to interview preparation. Imagine having an expert interview coach sitting next to you during practice, whispering perfect answers in real time while you navigate the most challenging questions. That level of support existed only in fantasies, until Parakeet AI transformed the concept into reality. This tool represents a fundamental shift from traditional interview preparation methods that leave you practicing alone with predetermined scripts. Parakeet AI connects directly to video calls and provides live transcription with AI-generated responses that appear as you speak. The system integrates seamlessly with your existing video conferencing setup, requiring no special hardware or complicated installations. You simply activate the software before joining your practice session, and it begins working immediately. The technology captures every word spoken during the conversation and processes it through advanced language models, trained specifically on interview scenarios and professional communication patterns. Most people assume this sounds too good to be true or worry it might be cheating when they first hear about real-time AI coaching. The skepticism is understandable because the technology seems to cross into territory that feels unfair or artificial. However, the distinction lies in understanding that Parakeet AI functions as a practice tool, not a live interview crutch. The goal is building skills and confidence through repetition and feedback, similar to how athletes use video analysis to improve their performance. The ethical boundary becomes clear when you recognize the difference between preparation assistance and real-time performance enhancement. The technical setup process requires connecting to Zoom, Google Meet, or Teams with custom company and position data that personalizes every interaction. You begin by uploading your resume, which the system analyzes to understand your background, skills, and experience patterns. Next, you input specific information about the target company, including their industry, recent news, company culture, and the particular role you're pursuing. This data becomes the foundation for generating contextually relevant responses that align with both your background and the employer's needs. The interface displays live conversation transcripts on one side and tailored AI responses on the other, creating a split-screen experience that keeps you engaged in the conversation while providing instant guidance. As you speak, your words appear in real-time transcription on the left panel. Simultaneously, the right panel populates with suggested responses, follow-up points, and strategic advice based on what you just said and what the interviewer asked. The visual layout prevents overwhelming information dumps while ensuring you have immediate access to coaching support throughout the practice session. Parakeet AI demonstrates multilingual capability across 52 languages and provides a private, undetectable experience that protects your preparation process. The language support extends beyond simple translation to include cultural communication nuances and professional terminology specific to different regions. Whether you're practicing in Spanish for a Latin American company or preparing for interviews in Mandarin for Asian markets, the system adapts its coaching style to match cultural expectations and business customs. The privacy features ensure that your practice sessions remain confidential, with no data shared with potential employers or third parties. The key differentiator emerges through custom answers based on your specific resume, company research, and position requirements rather than generic interview advice. Traditional preparation tools provide one-size-fits-all responses that rarely connect with your unique background or the specific role you're pursuing. Parakeet AI analyzes the intersection between your experience and the job requirements to generate responses that feel authentically yours while addressing what the employer wants to hear. For example, if you're a software engineer with project management experience interviewing for a technical lead role, the system crafts responses that highlight your coding skills within the context of team leadership scenarios. The free 5-minute trial lets you test the system risk-free before committing to extended practice sessions. This trial period provides enough time to experience the real-time coaching, evaluate the response quality, and determine whether the tool matches your learning style. You can practice with actual interview questions during this trial, giving you immediate insight into how the system works with your specific background and target roles. The trial removes the financial barrier that often prevents people from exploring new preparation methods, especially when they're already investing time and energy in job searching. AI practice helps you master the dreaded, "tell me about yourself" question by generating personalized responses that connect your background to specific role requirements. Instead of delivering a chronological career summary that bores interviewers, the AI coaches you to craft narratives that position your experience as directly relevant to the employer's needs. For instance, if you're transitioning from finance to product management, the system helps you frame your analytical skills and stakeholder management experience as preparation for product strategy and cross-functional collaboration. The responses avoid generic language and instead focus on specific examples that demonstrate your value proposition. The system transforms the "tell me about yourself" challenge by teaching you to structure responses that create immediate connection with interviewers. Rather than starting with where you went to school or your first job, AI coaching guides you to open with your professional identity and core strengths, then provide evidence through specific achievements, and conclude by connecting your background to the role you're discussing. This approach creates responses that sound natural while strategically positioning you as the ideal candidate. Advanced features include response timing optimization, helping you deliver answers that feel conversational rather than rushed or overly lengthy. The system provides gentle pacing guidance, ensuring your responses maintain interviewer engagement without overwhelming them with excessive detail. This timing aspect addresses one of the most common interview mistakes where candidates either provide insufficient information or ramble through unfocused explanations. The coaching extends beyond content to include delivery suggestions, body language reminders, and energy level adjustments that enhance your overall interview presence. These elements work together to create practice sessions that simulate real interview conditions while building competencies that transfer directly to actual conversations with hiring managers. The technology recognizes that successful interviews require both excellent content and confident delivery, addressing both aspects through integrated coaching approaches.
Watch what happens when an unprepared candidate faces the question, "Explain the difference between Python tuples and lists," during a software engineering interview. The candidate's eyes widen slightly, and they begin with the most basic distinction they can remember. "Well, tuples use parentheses and lists use square brackets," they say, immediately revealing their surface-level understanding. The interviewer nods politely but waits for more substance. The candidate continues, "And tuples are immutable while lists are mutable," but then stops, having exhausted their prepared knowledge. What should have been a comprehensive explanation that demonstrates deep understanding becomes an awkward silence that signals the end of their candidacy.
Technical interviews often include fundamental concept questions that require clear, structured explanations rather than simple definitions or code snippets. These questions test your ability to communicate complex ideas to both technical and non-technical stakeholders, a skill that matters significantly in collaborative development environments. Interviewers use these questions to evaluate whether candidates understand not just what something does, but why it works that way and when to apply different approaches. Many candidates know the concepts but struggle to articulate them clearly under pressure, especially when the stakes feel high and the interviewer's expression remains neutral. The knowledge exists in their minds, but translating technical understanding into coherent verbal explanations becomes surprisingly difficult when adrenaline kicks in. This challenge intensifies because technical concepts often involve multiple interconnected ideas that need to be presented in logical sequence. Candidates who can write elegant code or solve complex problems on their own often find themselves tongue-tied when explaining their thought process aloud. The common mistake involves giving incomplete answers that focus on syntax differences instead of practical applications and deeper implications. Returning to the tuples versus lists example, weak responses concentrate on the surface-level formatting differences without addressing why these data structures exist as separate options in Python. They mention immutability, but fail to explain what that means for memory usage, performance characteristics, or appropriate use cases. The explanation lacks context about when you would choose one over the other, missing the practical judgment that employers want to see in their technical hires. AI practice helps structure technical explanations with concrete examples that demonstrate both understanding and practical application experience. Instead of starting with abstract definitions, AI coaching guides candidates to begin with a real-world scenario that illustrates why the distinction matters. For the tuples versus lists question, an AI-coached response might start with, "When I'm working with coordinate data that shouldn't change, like GPS locations for a mapping application, I use tuples because their immutability prevents accidental modifications that could cause bugs in location calculations." This approach immediately shows practical judgment alongside technical knowledge. The AI-coached approach explains immutability, performance implications, and use cases systematically while maintaining conversational flow. The structure begins with a practical context, explains the technical concept, discusses performance considerations, and concludes with decision-making criteria. For tuples and lists, this means explaining that immutability makes tuples hashable and suitable as dictionary keys, while mutability makes lists better for dynamic data that needs frequent updates. The response includes performance details like tuples' faster iteration and lists' flexibility for appending elements, then provides specific scenarios where each choice makes sense. AI coaching extends to other technical questions that commonly appear in interviews across different engineering disciplines. Data structure questions might include explaining the difference between stacks and queues, when to use binary trees versus hash tables, or how different sorting algorithms perform under various conditions. Algorithm discussions could cover time complexity analysis, space-time trade-offs, or recursive versus iterative approaches. System design basics might involve explaining load balancing, database sharding, or microservices architecture patterns. Each category requires structured thinking and clear communication that AI practice can develop through repetition and feedback. The AI provides instant feedback on explanation clarity and completeness, identifying gaps that candidates typically miss during self-practice. After delivering a technical explanation, the system analyzes whether you covered the essential concepts, provided appropriate examples, and structured your response logically. It might note that you explained the technical differences clearly, but forgot to mention practical use cases, or that you provided good examples but rushed through the underlying concepts too quickly. This immediate feedback allows for iterative improvement that's impossible with static study materials or infrequent human feedback. Advanced AI coaching addresses explanation depth, helping candidates gauge appropriate detail levels for different interview contexts. A response suitable for a senior architect interview should include more nuanced considerations than one for a junior developer role. The system learns to calibrate feedback based on the position level and company type, ensuring your explanations match expectations. For instance, explaining database indexing to a startup might focus on practical implementation, while the same topic for an enterprise company might require discussing scalability and maintenance considerations. The feedback mechanism identifies common technical explanation pitfalls before they become habits. These include using too much jargon without defining terms, jumping between concepts without logical transitions, or providing examples that don't clearly illustrate the points being made. AI coaching helps candidates recognize when they're explaining what something does without addressing why it works that way. a distinction that separates strong technical communicators from average ones. AI-powered practice covers programming concepts like object-oriented design principles, functional programming paradigms, and concurrent programming models. Data analysis scenarios might include A/B testing methodologies, statistical significance interpretation, and data pipeline architecture decisions. Hypothesis. Testing questions could explore experimental design, sample size calculations, and bias identification in research studies. System architecture questions might address scalability patterns, fault-tolerant strategies, and technology stack selection criteria. The transformation from stumbling through basic definitions to delivering confident, comprehensive technical explanations happens through consistent practice with immediate feedback. Candidates develop the ability to structure complex information clearly, provide relevant examples spontaneously, and adapt their explanations to different audience needs. This skill proves valuable not just in interviews but throughout their careers as they collaborate with cross-functional teams and explain technical decisions to stakeholders. These technical communication skills transfer directly to workplace scenarios where engineers must justify technology choices, explain system behaviors to non-technical colleagues, and document complex processes for future reference. The confidence built through AI-assisted practice creates professionals who can articulate their expertise effectively in any professional setting. The interviewer leans forward and asks, "Tell me about a time you handled a difficult team conflict," while maintaining direct eye contact that signals this question will determine your advancement to the next interview round. This moment separates candidates who can demonstrate real leadership experience from those who merely claim leadership skills on their resumes. The question seems straightforward, but the follow-up probes will test whether your example shows genuine problem-solving abilities or reveals concerning gaps in your professional judgment. Behavioral questions require specific examples that demonstrate problem-solving and leadership skills through concrete actions you took in challenging workplace situations. These questions operate on the principle that past behavior predicts future performance, so interviewers want detailed stories that reveal your thought process, decision-making approach, and ability to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. The best responses provide enough context for the interviewer to understand the stakes involved, while showcasing skills directly relevant to the role you're pursuing. Most candidates either give vague answers that lack sufficient detail, or overshare inappropriate workplace drama that raises red flags about their professionalism. Vague responses sound like this. "I once had a conflict with a teammate who wasn't pulling their weight, so I talked to them about it, and we worked things out." This answer provides no insight into what actually happened, what skills you demonstrated, or what results you achieved. The oversharing mistake involves candidates who describe personality conflicts, office politics, or interpersonal drama, without connecting these situations to professional competencies. AI helps structure responses using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result, which provides a framework for delivering compelling behavioral stories that highlight your capabilities. The situation component establishes context by describing the workplace scenario, key players involved, and stakes or challenges that made the situation difficult. The task section clarifies your specific role and what you needed to accomplish. Action details the specific steps you took to address the challenge, emphasizing your decision-making process and implementation approach. Result quantifies the outcome and explains what you learned from the experience. AI coaching transforms a weak conflict resolution answer into a structured response that demonstrates leadership maturity. Instead of saying, "I handled a team conflict," the AI-coached version might begin. During a product launch timeline crunch, 2 senior developers disagreed fundamentally about architecture decisions, creating tension that was affecting the entire 8-person development team's productivity. This opening immediately establishes high stakes, specific roles, and measurable impact. The system's ability to suggest relevant scenarios from your uploaded resume and work history eliminates the common problem of candidates drawing blanks when asked for specific examples. After analyzing your background, the AI identifies potential stories from your experience that could address different behavioral question categories. If your resume mentions project management experience, the system might suggest scenarios involving deadline pressure, resource constraints, or stakeholder management challenges. For candidates with leadership roles, it could recommend examples involving team motivation, performance management, or strategic decision-making. AI can simulate leadership challenges that test your ability to motivate underperforming team members, navigate competing priorities, or make difficult decisions with incomplete information. Failure recovery scenarios explore how you handled project setbacks, learned from mistakes, or adapted when initial strategies didn't work. Ethical dilemmas examine your judgment when faced with conflicting loyalties, pressure to compromise standards, or situations where the right action wasn't immediately clear. One particularly valuable aspect involves coaching candidates through questions about times they disagreed with management decisions or had to deliver bad news to stakeholders. These scenarios require diplomatic language that demonstrates professional maturity without appearing disloyal or negative. The AI helps craft responses that show backbone and independent thinking while maintaining respect for organizational hierarchy and decision-making processes. AI coaching helps avoid common pitfalls like speaking negatively about former employers, colleagues, or company policies during behavioral responses. The system identifies language that sounds unprofessional or bitter and suggests alternatives that focus on your actions and growth rather than criticizing others. Instead of saying "my previous manager was completely disorganized and never gave clear direction," an AI-coached response might frame the same situation as, "I worked in an environment where priorities shifted frequently. So I developed systems for tracking competing demands and proactively seeking clarity on project expectations." The iterative practice process allows AI to refine your storytelling approach through multiple practice sessions that build on previous feedback. During your first attempt at a conflict resolution story, the AI might note that you focus too heavily on the problem description without adequate detail about your specific actions. In the second practice round, you might overcorrect by rushing through the situation setup to spend more time on actions, prompting feedback about providing sufficient context. The third iteration achieves better balance, and subsequent practice sessions polish your delivery timing and emotional tone. This refinement process addresses subtle storytelling elements that make behavioral responses memorable and compelling. The AI analyzes whether your examples demonstrate the specific competencies the interviewer seeks, suggests ways to strengthen the connection between your actions and desired outcomes, and helps you practice transitioning smoothly between story components. Advanced coaching includes guidance on appropriate emotional tone, ensuring your examples sound confident without appearing arrogant. The system helps candidates prepare for behavioral question variations that test the same underlying competencies through different angles. A leadership question might be framed as, "Tell me about a time you motivated a struggling team member." "Describe a situation where you had to influence someone without direct authority," or "Give me an example of when you had to make an unpopular decision." The AI ensures you have flexible stories that can address multiple question variations while avoiding the appearance of using rehearsed scripts. AI simulation builds confidence with conflict resolution scenarios involving personality clashes, competing priorities, and communication breakdowns. Project management failure examples help you discuss missed deadlines, budget overruns, or scope changes professionally. Team leadership stories demonstrate your ability to inspire others, delegate effectively, and maintain accountability standards. Ethical workplace situations test your judgment when faced with competing loyalties or pressure to compromise professional standards. Career transition explanations help you frame job changes, industry switches, or role expansions as strategic growth rather than reactive decisions. These comprehensive behavioral scenario practices transform candidates from people who struggle to remember relevant examples into confident storytellers who can adapt their experiences to address whatever the interviewer asks. The preparation builds genuine confidence because you've practiced articulating your professional judgment and leadership approach across multiple challenging scenarios. Return to Sarah 3 weeks after discovering AI interview practice tools, and you find someone who has completely restructured her approach to professional preparation. Her morning routine now includes 20 minutes of AI-powered interview practice before checking emails or starting her job search activities. She treats these sessions with the same consistency as going to the gym, scheduling them at the same time each day to build sustainable habits. The practice setup has become second nature. She opens Parakeet AI, uploads any new job descriptions she's targeting, and selects question categories that match her upcoming interviews. Sarah established a daily practice routine using Parakeet AI for 20 to 30 minutes each session, focusing on different skill areas throughout the week. Monday sessions concentrate on behavioral questions and storytelling structure. Tuesday and Wednesday focus on technical explanations and industry-specific knowledge. Thursday sessions target company research and role-specific scenarios. Friday P